welcome. Today we will discuss attitude formation, and attitude formation would be covered in two sessions. So, this is the first session of attitude formation, and I, Dr. Shravanti Mukherjee from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, would be delivering this lecture to you. The learning concepts of this module is the concepts of attitude, functions of attitude, the hierarchy of effects model of attitude formation, tri-component attitude formation model, and comparison of tri-component attitude formation model with different kind of response hierarchy models. So, to begin with, we will try to define what attitude is. Now, a person's overall attitude towards an object is explained as a function of a strength of each belief that a person holds about various products and brands, and b, what is an individual's evaluation towards each belief associated with a particular tangible or intangible object. To explain, I want to buy a car. Now, I think that the car should be judged, a good car should be judged based on the mileage it offers. So, to judge if the mileage of the car is good, the car should be acceptable. So, this understanding is basically the strength of the belief towards mileage, the attribute. And now, I am saying that how say Maruti Alto K10 is better in terms of mileage, or Ford Figo is better in terms of mileage. That comparison now I can do and say whether Maruti K10 is good in terms of mileage or not. So, altogether this will form my attitude towards Maruti Alto, that mileage, it is good to have a better mileage for buying a car, and Maruti Alto has a good mileage. Hence, my attitude towards Maruti is good or favorable. So, this is how firstly the attitude is defined. So, in short, we may say that attitude may be defined as a learned predisposition to behave in a consistently favorable or unfavorable manner towards a given object. Now, this is what I am saying. This term object in marketing purview refers to products, brand, service, usage, promotional measures, price, point of purchase, anything of that sort, which means it may be a favorable, the object may be the effectiveness of an advertisement. For example, if I want to see that people have formed a favorable attitude towards a certain advertisement or not, that also I try to see that what are the people's belief about a good ad or a bad ad, or and then how this particular ad has impacted the customer, how they have felt about this particular ad on a specific attribute. Say for example, the sense of humor in that particular advertisement. So, if the ad is humorous, that is catchy, if that is my understanding, and then if I think that this particular ad was humorous and hence this ad was catchy. So, this is how the attitude towards any object could be formed. So, therefore, we can say that an attitude is a resultant factor of learned predisposition. Attitude are targeted at specific objects, individuals and situation. In marketing, we are not talking about the attitude of the person in general, whether the person is rowdy or whether the person is calm and cool, not that attitude. We are talking about the attitude towards the object. Okay. The motivational affective feature of attitude distinguishes it from the simply being the predisposition or habit. It is not habit, it depends on my motivation for buying a product, and then how do I like a particular object in terms of that particular attribute. So, therefore, we can say that there are four major functions of attitude. To begin with, we talk about the utilitarian function. Consumers form a particular attitude about an object primarily based on its utility. Now, to highlight the brand's positive, so therefore, utility means when I am talking about any functional attribute of the product. For example, if I am judging a laptop, I am judging it based on the kind of chip it has used, the screen size, the speed of operation in that. So, specific attribute of the laptop, the battery backing of the laptop. So, these are the specific attribute based on which I am judging whether a laptop is a good one or a bad one. So, in this case, to highlight the brand's positive aspects, the marketing communication is directed at evaluative attributes, either the reliability of the product, safety of the product, the durability of the product, the cost effectiveness. So, these are the things which we are talking about. So, a mobile, maybe it could be judged based on, if I am judging the mobile based on its ability to catch a very good selfie, then that is the attribute on which I am evaluating several mobiles. Say Journey, I am thinking of Google Pixel or several other mobiles, and seeing that which brand can capture a better selfie. So, that is how I will like the brand, because for me, if I think that if a better selfie, the quality of selfie determines the quality of the mobile or my positive attitude towards the mobile. So, therefore, I will judge that is the attribute on which I am judging several mobiles and developing a favorable or not favorable attitude towards any mobile. So, similarly, we can see that Women's Horlicks depicts in its advertisement the importance of consuming iron and calcium, especially for Indian women. And similarly, low calorie Horlicks Light, that focuses on the middle aged customers, but they talk about maintaining the calorie level, and when we talk about the Mother's Horlicks, it supports the nutritional requirement of the lactating mothers. This was one function, that is utilitarian. The second function is the ego defensive function. Though consumers develop certain attitude to personal goals and defend their self images, they want to protect themselves from embarrassment, or they want to project themselves very accomplished in the society. So, this kind of for example, most of the commercials on cosmetics and personal care products, they stress on the sense of personal confidence and at times on the fear of embarrassment. If you think of deodorants, many deodorants, they actually say that you are very embarrassed in the society, and most of the ads are like that, you are embarrassed in the society, and therefore, people are talking about you, people are laughing at you. So, to protect yourself from this embarrassment, you should consume some kind of deo. So, that is a kind of ego defensive function of the particular product, and the attitude would be formed based on the product which can defends your ego or defends you from the embarrassment from the society, in the society. Now, similarly, it may like personal confidence, Fair and Lovely, because is a such kind of product. Since Indians have a tendency to believe that the fairness and beauty are almost synonymous, therefore, Fair and Lovely has encashed this kind of prejudice and generated a revolution in the fairness market. Specifically focusing on the fairness benefit, Fair and Lovely was launched in 1975 in India by Hindustan Unilever. The brand crossed the national border in 1988, and today with a very successful positioning, Fair and Lovely leads to almost 1000 crore Indian fairness cream market with a share of over 70%. And now, Fair and Lovely is actually positioned as what makes you confident. You are fair, you look better, you look accomplished, so you are more confident. So, you are equal with the male gender also. So, that is how it has been positioned. It is mostly a feminine brand. So, that is how now the equal ad, if you remember, it is positioning in that way. Crack cream is talking about fatty area. So, this is basically the issue of winter scratches and crack marks. So, to avoid that, again to protect yourself from the embarrassment, crack as positioned in that particular aspect, and it was a big hit. The third function of attitude is the knowledge function. Now, customers strongly insist on more information about the products they use or they want to use, often to assure their right selection. So, this kind of inclination helps the marketers to make the customers recall about the advertising messages or themes in resorting subsequent positioning and repositioning decisions. and this facilitates the customer's evaluation of alternative and thereby assists their decision making process. Now, in this kind of cases, the advertisements or the marketing communication should be more towards providing the information about the product. The more knowledgeable the customer, these are mostly the high involvement product. So, more knowledgeable the customer are about the those products, the easier it would be for them to form attitude towards the product. And like Dell, they usually advertise about the performance, superiority and dependability features and forms the customer's presumption about certain configuration of the systems. And this trims down the uncertainty and perceived risk of buying the product from customer's viewpoint, because they become knowledgeable about the attributes of the product and also the evaluative criteria on which the product should be evaluated, and on those evaluative criteria how each product is performing. So, now they can make a very good comparison and knowledgeably select the product. For majority of the high tech products, brands advertising message is primarily designed to inform the customer about the key feature or appeals of the product, and thereby it assists the customer to understand whether the brand would fit with their requirement or not. The other one is the value expressive function. Now, here we can say that attitudes are sometimes shaped to exhibit customers' own values, lifestyle and outlook. Sometimes the advertisers appeal to upgradation, accomplishment or liberty. It is not only a kind of ego, but also it shows the kind of lifestyle you are portraying, the kind of outlook you are having towards the, for stylish and noticeable consumption objects mostly, this kind of function is very effective. Here we can see the distribution outlets of Allen Solly, Louis Philippe or Peter England. This provide a portrayal of the lifestyle positioning of the products, because these are targeted towards the urban elites. Now, in the picture we can see the promotion of J. Hampstead, where Hrithik Roshan is you can see here, and it is said that J. Hampstead is the world's, but the slogan is like the world's finest fabric and apparel, a different league. So, it is actually positioned on the esteem need of the customer and how you are different from the consumers of other shooting settings, that has been portrayed here. So, now after these 4 functions which we have discussed about attitude, now we are trying to discuss about different models to show what is the chronology of the attitude formation, how attitude is formed. So, the first model which we are going to discuss is the hierarchy of effects model, and this model was propounded by Robert Lavich and Gary Steiner in the year of 1961, and it comprises of 7 steps. The first step is the unawareness of the product. So, the assumption here is this, that there exists a considerable set of potential customer fully unaware about the existence of the product. So, first step is you have to make your customer aware about the product. So, that is the task of the marketer in this case. For example, Google is coming up with their Pixel phones, which they are saying it is a very good camera function, and they are saying it is having a inbuilt Google Assistant. It is again in the Android platform. So, now for this kind of product they have designed an ad, and this is a full page ad, it is coming in the leading newspapers, and it is only the pixel, and it is highlighting on the very good camera function of the product, and the Google Assistant part. So, and in the entire page it is only the write up portion is very less. So, that will actually catch the attention of the customer more about what it is, and then it will increase the search in the internet about the product, and customers will start reading more of remarks or comments about the products also to form their own opinion about it. So, then comes the stage of awareness. When now that we know that there is a phone which is coming up like this, which is having a very good camera function, smart camera function, and it is also having very good, it is providing the Google Assistant, inbuilt Google Assistant in it. So, therefore, now we are aware about the product. So, we are also aware about the other products which are available. In this case, like Journey is available, different Samsung is also bringing every day, they are bringing different new products. They are also about to bring another new product in the market very shortly. So, this thing, then after the awareness, then comes the knowledge function. So, I know that there are so many Samsung phones, there are so many, that Journey is also having several versions, and Apple is also having so many versions. So, now at this stage the customers are well informed that these are the type of products available, and they try to gather more and more information about different attributes. Now, me as a customer, I may be more interested in surfing internet in the mobile. So, in that case, I would like to see which I mean how the 4G could be incorporated in the mobile, and what is the speed of internet, what kind of software they are using. So, those kind of information I may be interested in. I may be a customer who is looking for mostly the selfie function. So, I will collect more and more information about the selfie part, that which camera the camera function of the front camera especially is very good in which mobile, which handset. So, accordingly I will choose, because if I am looking for selfie, I will be more focusing on the front camera and how good the front camera is. So, this is collecting information and being knowledgeable about the product, and then I may start liking several products. I may like Journey also, because it can fetch a good selfie. I may like Apple also, or I may like the new Google Pixel also. So, I may start liking the product. This is the affection about the product. The next step is preference. Now, I start comparing. I know the attributes, I know which attribute is good in which brand, but now I start, and I also certain liked 2-3 brands. Now, I will start comparing between these 2-3 brands and try to see which brand I should prefer. Okay, maybe I am preferring Google Pixel because it is coming from the brand Google, and it is having inbuilt Google Assistant along with its camera function. So, therefore, I may start preferring Google Pixel at this point. And then is the conviction. Conviction is when a customer forms a desire to buy the product. See, I may prefer Google Pixel, but right now I am using a Samsung phone, and at this moment I am not ready to buy anything else, but I prefer it. Whenever I will change my handset, that time I may think of Google Pixel. So, that is how my idea is, but then the conviction has to be there. The conviction means now if I feel that the benefits of Google Pixel is very good than what the mobile I am using, and I am also having the money to buy it, then I form a desire to own a Google Pixel and replace my existing phone. So, this is conviction, intention to purchase. And then finally, in the 7th stage is actually going and purchasing the brand. So, at each stage the marketer has several functions. I will go back to see when the customer is unaware, you mainly have to provide the basic cues or 2-3 main USPs about the product, and you have to see how to catch the attention. Mostly the innovative advertisement, the more innovative your ad is, it will catch the attention of the customer more. Though the products which are mostly having the utilitarian function, you have to give you have to talk about the functional attributes, but you have to think how innovatively you should talk about the functional attribute which can catch the attention of the customer. At awareness stage, you start giving more information as a marketer. In the knowledge stage also, you start forming the make the customer educated about on which criteria they should evaluate each of the brand. Regarding liking, again you need to promote your brand more and show how better you are than the other brands. Preference, the same thing, like you have to promote your brand in such a way, or you have to make your brand available in such a way that customers start preferring your brand over the other brands. Conviction, at this stage of course the offers matter a lot. If you have some kind of exchange offers with the existing phones, maybe that can result in that may make the buyer more ready to purchase the product. or you are giving some offers, Diwali offers or some kind of offers which may induce the customer to think or make the customer ready to buy the product. And finally, purchase is the conversion. Even if I have the desire of the product, I may not end up in purchasing, because at the purchase point, as you know, I may see that the other phones are giving or the other products are giving better offers. So, in that case also I have to be very cautious at purchase point. What are my competitors doing? What are the offers they are giving at the purchase point? What kind of display they are making? What kind of shops they are selecting for selling their product? Are they selling it only online, or they are using online and offline both? What are the offers given in online? What are the offers are given in offline? Whether it is sold from multi-brand outlet or the brands are having their own outlet. So, all this consideration I should be making, and then I will form my own strategy, mostly the marketing mix I have to fix up, and then and only then I can convert the conviction into purchase. The other important model which we talk about is the tri-component attitude model. This was developed by Leon G. Shipman in 2006, and this has further condensed these 7 stages into 3 stages: the cognition stage, affection stage and cognition stage. Now, we will go in details what is cognition, affection and cognition. Cognition is the unawareness, the customer is unaware, and at this point they are just becoming aware about the product, about the particular object. Here awareness means they are getting aware about the traits and benefits based on my own knowledge and my information, my ability to comprehend also the brands. And say for example, I am not very for the first time I am going to use any kind of smartphone. So, I am not aware about the maybe the first maybe the in the age group of 60 to 70, and I am not very sure about what is the operating system. Maybe Android is better or some other platform would be better. So, I am not very sure about it at that point. So, in that case the cognition not only depends on not only depends on what information you are providing, but also depends on the customer's ability to comprehend that information. So, you have to provide the information in such a way that customers would be able to comprehend. You select your target group, and accordingly you design the message, your level of simplicity of the message, the level, the extent of message, the volume of information which you will provide, that also will depend on the segment which you are targeting, so that they can easily comprehend the message. Then comes the affective stage or the affection stage. This is the feeling, that is the liking stage. So, clearly when we talk about the Levi-Steiner's model of hierarchy of effects model, awareness, unawareness, awareness and knowledge, these 3 comes under cognition. And when we talk about this affection, it is mainly 2 stages. One is the liking, another is the preference. And the other one is conation. Conation is the stage where individual forms the predisposition about the product, which means they form the purchase intention and they finally purchase it. So, this is the stage conation, that is the doing stage. So, thinking, feeling and doing, these are the 3 stages. So, if we go back to the hierarchy of effect model, there of Levi-Steiner, basically this 3rd stage of conation relates to the conviction and the purchase stage, these 2. So, with a very small example, I will now try to elaborate this concept which I have said. And there is like Mauchgar, which is a very small village in Firozpur district in Punjab, with a population of about 2,500, and we may not know that in Jet Airways there is a small kind of tamarind lozenges which is given, toffees, and these toffees are actually produced in that place, and this is the principal that place is the principal supplier of this popular sweets and tangy tamarind candies in domestic flights, and commonly they are known as Millie. And Mr. Sandeep Jakar, the man behind this venture, claims that it was not so easy to actually penetrate in the domestic market and to motivate the or form a positive attitude of the airlines. Here the airlines are the customers, okay? It is a B2B. So, we have to convince the airlines to purchase this toffees for their customers. So, for that what they have done, they have they made them aware with certain evaluative attributes. And what are these evaluative attributes? Because see, this recipe of this particular toffee was made by Madhalsa Shastri, and they have convinced Jet Airways by saying that what are the evaluative attributes they have talked about. A is the hygiene aspect, that this product is very, because airlines are very cautious about the hygiene of the customer. So, the first aspect they talked about is the hygiene aspect, and they said that the special care has been taken about hygiene, and he has ensured that the ladies working in the project have washed their hands before they have started working. Working with mehendi or any other things painted in the hand is strictly prohibited. Second, tamarind was considered to be good for digestion, and it contains vitamin C, which is good for health. Now, it is also a remedy of heat stroke or several mouth or throat infections. So, that is how it is again good for health, and if it could be provided with food, after food, and the food packet actually Jet Airways provides it. So, in the complimentary food packets and all, they provide this mealy, so that after food it helps in digestion. And the other very crucial aspect which was highlighted was the tamarind has been believed to reduce the air sickness. Okay. So, this was one of the very important attributes which has been highlighted, and therefore, they have formed a very positive or preferable the preference of the airlines and over any other toffees which could be served. So, therefore, this product became very popular, people started the airlines started liking it, they started providing it, and even it became popular in the stores also. So, it is now moving towards the consumer segment also, and we can see in South Africa and France it was named as Bonbon, and it is being sold in Canada also, it is being getting sold now, and he got the order even from Canada in bulk order for the customers as well, for after serving it in the Jet Airways. So, this is how the positive attitude about the product could be formed, if you really know on which of the criteria you could form which of the criteria the customer may prefer, or you can create you can convince the customer that these are the attributes on which you should evaluate a toffee or any product for that matter, and how good you are in those aspects, and these two in combination could provide a favorable attitude towards the product. Now, if we very quickly compare some other models like IDA model, hierarchy of effects model, innovation adoption model and communication model with the cognition, affective and behavioral stage, we can see that most of these models actually is just a very less here and there, it is just a little bit of here and there, because if you see IDA model, it is attention of the customer, forming interest about the product, then desire to buy the product and action, which is very clear. Interest and desire is in the affective stage, and attention is the cognitive stage, and action is the behavior stage. Hierarchy of effects model we have already discussed by Levi-Steiner. The other one we can see here, innovation adoption model, where a new product is coming in the market, awareness, then of course, the interest and evaluation, then trial and adoption. Of course, this trial and adoption comes in the behavior stage, whereas interest and evaluation comes in the affective stage, and awareness of course as usual in the cognitive stage. Similarly, the communication model also, like exposure, reception and cognitive response, exposure to the advertisement or the message from the company, then comes how do you receive it, whether how much you are selecting, to what extent of the information you are selecting, how much you are not selecting, you are rejecting. So, that part, then what is your idea about that information, are you believing it, how much you are believing, how much you are retaining, how much you are yielding. So, that part, then comes your formation of attitude and intention, which is the affective stage, and then finally, behavior, that is the purchase stage. So, this is in short the models of the attitude formation. We have here only discussed 3. In the next session, we are going to discuss some other models as well. Till then, thank you and see you again.